Have you ever met someone so charming, so effortlessly cool, that you forget they're one of the most dangerous people in the room? That's Ordell Robbie. And what makes him truly terrifying isn't the violence. It's how comfortable he makes you feel right before he destroys you. Most people think of movie villains as the Jokers, the Hannibal Lecters, the monsters who announce their evil with theatrical flair. But psychologists will tell you that the most dangerous predators aren't the ones who look like monsters. They're the ones who look like your friend, your business partner, the guy who makes you laugh. And Ordell Robbie, as portrayed by Samuel L. Jackson in Quentin Tarantino's 1997 masterpiece Jackie Brown, is the perfect case study of this phenomenon. So in this video, I'm going to break down exactly why clinical psychologists find Ordell Robbie more disturbing than most horror movie villains, revealing the manipulation tactics that make him so effective, and showing you the real-world personality disorders that he embodies with terrifying accuracy. But first, let me give you some context on who Ordell Robbie actually is and why this matters. Ordell Robbie is a gun runner operating out of Los Angeles, and one of his key operations relies on Jackie Brown smuggling his cash from Mexico into the United States. On the surface, he seems like just another criminal. But what makes him unique, and what makes him so psychologically disturbing, is the complete disconnect between his presentation and his nature. He dresses impeccably, speaks with infectious enthusiasm, laughs easily, and treats everyone like they're in on the joke with him. He's the kind of guy who could sell you a car, convince you to invest in his business, or become your best friend over a beer. And that's exactly what makes him so dangerous. Throughout Jackie Brown, we watch as Ordell navigates a complex operation that's falling apart. And his response to every obstacle isn't rage or obvious villainy. It's casual, friendly problem-solving that happens to involve murdering people. And this is where psychologists start paying attention, because Ordell displays a textbook combination of antisocial personality disorder traits, narcissistic tendencies, and something even more disturbing, the complete absence of an authentic self beneath the performance. Let's start with the first thing that makes Ordell psychologically fascinating: his masterful use of charm as a weapon. Early in the film, we see Ordell hanging out with his associate Louis, relaxed and upbeat, talking and joking with the energy of someone who treats criminal life like a casual routine. Immediately, Tarantino establishes Ordell's character through his enthusiasm, his humor, and his almost childlike excitement about the tools of his trade. He's not menacing. He's not cold. He's entertaining. And this is the first manipulation tactic that clinical psychologists recognize immediately: the use of superficial charm to disarm potential threats. Individuals with antisocial personality disorder, commonly referred to in clinical settings as psychopathy or sociopathy, depending on the specific presentation, often display what researchers call predatory charm. This isn't the same as being genuinely charming or likable. It's a calculated performance designed to lower defenses, create trust, and establish control. And Ordell is a master of this craft. Watch how he interacts with Beaumont Livingston, the associate played by Chris Tucker, in one of the film's most disturbing sequences. Ordell picks Beaumont up from jail with all the warmth of an old friend. He's smiling, joking, asking how Beaumont's doing, creating an atmosphere of camaraderie and safety. Beaumont, who's clearly nervous about having talked to the police, starts to relax in Ordell's presence. And this is exactly what Ordell wants. Because the moment Beaumont lets his guard down, the moment he believes in Ordell's friendly performance, Ordell shoots him dead in the trunk of a car. What's psychologically disturbing about this scene isn't just the murder. It's the completeness of the performance leading up to it. Ordell never breaks character. There's no moment where the mask slips and you see rage or hatred or even cold calculation. He maintains the friendly demeanor right up until the trigger pull. And even afterward, he seems almost regretful about the unfortunate necessity of it all. This ability to maintain a false persona without any emotional leakage is a hallmark of severe personality disorders, and it's what makes individuals like Ordell so dangerous in real-world contexts. Psychologists who study criminal behavior point to something called compartmentalization, the ability to separate one's actions from one's emotional experience. But with Ordell, we see something even more sophisticated. He's not compartmentalizing, he's genuinely experiencing the friendly interaction as real in the moment, even though he knows it's a prelude to murder. This suggests a level of emotional dissociation that goes beyond typical antisocial personality presentation. He's not faking friendship and hiding murderous intent. He's simultaneously being friendly and being murderous, with no internal conflict between the two states. Let's move to the second disturbing element of Ordell's psychology: his treatment of women, specifically Melanie and Simone. Throughout the film, Ordell surrounds himself with women who depend on him financially and emotionally. Melanie, played by Bridget Fonda, lives in his house, surfs his couch, and exists in a state of perpetual adolescence under his roof. Simone, played by Hattie Winston, is someone Ordell pulls into his world when he needs another person to carry money as part of the scheme, putting herself at enormous legal risk for his benefit. What's immediately apparent to psychologists watching these relationships is the power dynamic Ordell has carefully constructed. These aren't partnerships, they're dependencies. Ordell has positioned himself as the provider, the authority figure, the one who makes decisions, and both women have learned to navigate their lives around his moods and needs. This is classic narcissistic control, creating relationships where others exist primarily to serve your purposes, while maintaining the illusion that you're the generous one providing for them. Notice how Ordell talks to Melanie throughout the film. He's never overtly cruel or abusive in his language. He doesn't yell or threaten. Instead, he uses dismissiveness, condescension, and casual disregard to maintain control. When Melanie gets too high and annoys him, he doesn't explode. He simply makes it clear through his tone and body language that she's being tiresome, that she's failing to read the room, that she's disappointing him. This is psychological manipulation at its finest, because it puts the burden of his dissatisfaction on her behavior rather than on his unreasonable expectations. And of course, when Melanie finally pushes too far, trying to cut her own deal, violence snaps into the story with chilling speed. The film makes a brutal point here. In Ordell's orbit, people are disposable the moment they become a liability, and the system he built doesn't need rage to turn lethal. It only needs the decision that someone has become a problem. If you're finding this analysis fascinating and you want to dive deeper into the psychology of Tarantino villains, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Trust me, you won't want to miss the upcoming videos. The third element that makes Ordell psychologically disturbing is his relationship with violence itself. Throughout Jackie Brown, Ordell kills people on screen, most notably Beaumont, and later, when the situation tightens, he kills again with the same calm efficiency. But what's notable isn't the body count. It's the complete absence of emotional investment in the violence. Ordell doesn't kill out of rage, passion, or even particular cruelty. He kills the way most people take out the trash. It's an unpleasant necessity, but someone has to do it, so you might as well get it done efficiently. This emotional flatness around violence is one of the primary indicators that psychologists look for when assessing for severe antisocial personality disorder. Most people, even criminals, have some emotional response to causing death. There's adrenaline, fear of consequences, justification, something. But Ordell displays what researchers call affective poverty, a marked reduction in emotional response to situations that would normally provoke strong feelings. Look at the moment when Lewis spirals and starts unraveling under pressure. Lewis is jittery, reactive, ruled by anxiety and impulse. His nervous system is on fire. And then you watch Ordell's response when he realizes Lewis has become unpredictable and dangerous to keep around. Ordell doesn't melt down. He doesn't agonize. He doesn't have a moral crisis. He simply adjusts the equation, decides Lewis is now a threat, and removes him. Calm, practical, immediate. There's no processing, no reaction, no moment of, what have I done? It's just task completion. This brings us to perhaps the most disturbing aspect of Ordell's psychology. The question of whether there's any authentic person underneath the performance at all. Throughout the film, we see Ordell adapt his presentation based on who he's talking to. With Louis, he's a leader and mentor. With Jackie, he's charming and slightly flirtatious. With Beaumont, he's a concerned friend. With Melanie, he's a tolerant host. With Simone, he's a provider and protector. But who is Ordell when no one's watching? Tarantino never shows us this, and that's precisely the point. Psychologists who study individuals with severe personality disorders often note that these individuals have what's called an empty core. There's no stable sense of self beneath the various masks they wear. They're not pretending to be different people in different contexts while maintaining a true self underneath. The performance is all there is. They are the sum of their manipulations, their strategies, their adaptations to social situations. Remove the audience, and there's nothing left. This is what makes Ordell so existentially disturbing. He's not a person who does bad things. He's a sophisticated social algorithm that has learned to mimic humanity while lacking the essential internal experience that makes someone human. He understands human behavior intellectually, can predict it, can manipulate it, but he doesn't feel it from the inside. Consider his relationship with Jackie Brown herself. Ordell clearly likes Jackie. He trusts her with his money, respects her competence, and seems to genuinely enjoy her company. But when she becomes a potential threat, when the possibility emerges that she might betray him, all of that positive regard evaporates instantly. There's no conflict, no struggle between his affection for her and his need to protect himself. The affection simply wasn't real in the way we normally understand human connection. It was provisional, conditional, and ultimately shallow. The fourth disturbing element is Ordell's complete lack of self-awareness or capacity for self-reflection. Throughout the film, Ordell never questions his own behavior, never examines his choices, never shows any indication that he's aware of the inconsistency between his friendly persona and his murderous actions. This is a key distinction between Ordell and other Tarantino villains like Hans Landa from Inglourious Basterds, who clearly knows he's a villain and seems to take some pleasure in the performance. Ordell doesn't think he's a villain. He doesn't think he's a good guy either. He simply doesn't think about himself in moral terms at all. He exists in a space beyond conventional morality, not because he's philosophically rejected it, but because he fundamentally lacks the emotional and cognitive architecture that makes moral reasoning possible. When he kills Beaumont, he's not justifying it to himself. He's not struggling with it. He's solving a problem. The moral dimension of the action simply doesn't enter his awareness. This is what psychologists call moral blindness, and it's one of the most disturbing features of severe antisocial personality disorder. It's not that these individuals know right from wrong and choose wrong. It's that the entire framework of right and wrong is absent from their decision-making process. They understand that society has rules, that breaking rules has consequences, and they strategize accordingly. But they don't feel the weight of moral obligation that constrains most human behavior. Finally, let's talk about why Ordell is ultimately undone. In the climax of Jackie Brown, Jackie orchestrates an elaborate con that plays law enforcement and criminals against each other and leaves Ordell with nowhere safe to stand. And Ordell's downfall comes directly from his psychological blind spots. He underestimates Jackie because she's been playing the role of the loyal employee so effectively. He misreads her intelligence because he's so focused on his own manipulations that he can't conceive of someone out-manipulating him. And most crucially, he fails to understand that Jackie is something he can never be. A complete person with genuine emotions, authentic relationships, and the capacity to plan for a future that extends beyond immediate gratification and threat avoidance. Jackie wins because she's human in ways that Ordell isn't. She can genuinely connect with Max Cherry, the bail bondsman who helps her. She can feel guilt about betraying others, which paradoxically makes her more careful and strategic. She can envision a life beyond the con, which gives her the motivation to see it through. Ordell, for all his intelligence and cunning, is trapped in an eternal present, always reacting, always adapting, never building toward anything. This is the final disturbing truth about Ordell Robbie. He's hollow. And that hollowness, that fundamental absence of authentic selfhood, is far more terrifying than any amount of violence or cruelty could ever be. Because violence, we understand. Violence has a logic, even if it's a twisted one. But the complete absence of an inner life, the emptiness at the core of someone who looks and talks and acts human while being fundamentally other, that's what nightmares are made of. So what can we learn from Ordell Robbie? First, that charm is not the same as goodness. The people who make you feel most comfortable aren't always safe. Second, that the absence of obvious cruelty doesn't mean the absence of danger. Ordell never tortures anyone, never rages, never inflicts gratuitous suffering, but he's responsible for multiple deaths, ruined lives, and immeasurable suffering. And third, that the most disturbing villains aren't the ones who embrace evil. They're the ones who exist in a space where the concept of evil has no meaning. If this deep dive into psychological horror has captivated you, then you need to subscribe right now. Thank you all for watching. What are your thoughts on Ordell Robbie? Do you find him as disturbing as I do? Let me know in the comments below. And while you're there, suggest another character you'd like to see featured in a future video. Until next time, stay curious, stay analytical, and remember, the monsters that look human are always the most dangerous.